Good morning. Yeah, we're back out here again. Early this Saturday morning. So I'm up in Sharon, Georgia, and we're headed out to. Well, I keep saying we, but I'm headed out to Friendship, and then I'll stop by New Hope and the old New Hope Cemetery, and then I'm probably gonna go back home before I get in trouble for being out all day. But yeah, I just wanted to do a quick video of the little drive out to Raytown from Sharon. So I used to come out here as a kid. We used to come out and visit. We called it Cutting Book Vandella Brown, and I started doing some research probably about 10-15 years ago, and found out her name was, she was born Vandella Porter, and I think she attended Sardis, because when she passed away, well, that's where she's laid to rest. And when she passed away, my classmate Chadwick Scott, or my former classmate, he disowned us. So, you know, I shouldn't even mention his name, but my brother Chadwick mentioned her name. He was going to the funeral or whatever, and I was like, oh, that's my kinfolk or whatever. But she was laid to rest at Sardis. But as a kid, we used to come out here. Every time Cousin Murders came down from Philadelphia, we would come out here, and I hated coming out here because there were no kids, and I don't think she had a TV in the house. So they would just sit there and talk for hours, and I was just there as a kid. But it's cool because last year, I think it was last year or year before, Cousin Murders came down, and she was about to get on the phone, and she said, I'm about to call my cousin Albert. And I said, Albert Brown? And she said, yes. How you know Albert? And I was like, well, I have a census record with his name on it, but I didn't know he was still alive. She said, well, he was alive last time I heard. And Cutting Book, if I'm not mistaken, used to live right here off to the left. The house isn't here anymore, and I don't remember exactly where it was, but this is where she used to live. But back to Cousin Albert. So she called him. I spoke to him. Me and my son Hezekiah went up to meet him, and he just shared a lot of information. It was really cool. Before I proceed with that story, all my bookers, Donald, right here on the right, if you all can see it. If you all can see it, where is it? Right here, right there, that chimney, that house right there. Grandma said that was Mr. Willie Booker's folks. That's where they used to live. So when Aunt Georgia May used to come down, that's where they would be all the time, at that house right there. And you guys may remember that house. Not sure, but that's what Grandma told me. So just wanted to share that with you guys. But back to Cousin Albert. So I spoke to Mr. Albert. We went up to visit him, and he was telling me that his mom was Liddy Porter, which was Cutting Book Vandella's sister, and he connected me with his niece. So his niece Clara, myself and Grandma, we went up to visit Miss Clara. We met her and her husband and kids, and they provided us a picture of Anna Porter. Anna Porter was Pa John's sister. And so I had this picture. It was fascinating because I have a picture of Pa John. Now I had a picture of his sister. So when I showed it to Cousin Murdis, she said she didn't know who this person was. And then she called me back. I didn't tell her. She called me back and she said, I think this the picture of the lady that used to be on the wall in Cutting Book house. And I was like, yep, that was her mom. So I'm assuming that same picture that Cousin Clara shared with us was the same picture that Cutting Book or Cousin Vandella had hanging up in her home. So I just think that was just fascinating. making those connections. And I didn't know any of these people. I just had the census record with Liddy Porter. She married a Brown. It was her husband and all their kids. And I had carried that for 10, 15 years, but I didn't know how to reach anybody. And the only person that Grandma knew was Liddy's son, Roger Ray. And Roger Ray was one of the oldest. And I think she had him before she married Mr. Willie Brown. I think that was his name. But all right, I'm at 5 minutes and 40 seconds, so I'm not doing too bad. So now we're pulling up at Friendship in Raytown. And yeah, we used to come up here. I was small, but the camp meeting thing used to be huge, man. People from everywhere used to come out. And it was a really, really big thing. And so, all right. So we're gonna walk back through the old part of the cemetery. I'm gonna grab my snake repellent out of the glove box. We're gonna walk back through here. But yeah, a lot of history here. But you know, before the people that started worshiping here at Friendship came here to Friendship, they used to worship at Piney Grove. And I've been down that road where Piney Grove used to be, but Grandma didn't remember exactly where the church was because it's no longer there. But Mr. Garrett Fuller's gonna take me down one day and show me exactly where Piney Grove was, and some of our ancestors, you know, are laid to rest out there as well, because that's where they worshiped before they came here to Friendship. But yeah, here at Friendship, I didn't know until recently. I didn't know that. Oh man, it's crazy. Yeah, I didn't know that Miss Clara Bolton, Miss B, talking about Joyce's mom. I didn't know all of them grew up here in Raytown, sharing and worship and fellowship together here between Piney Grove and Friendship. But you know, I never knew. You know, a lot of us are close kin too. You know, but you know, it's a beautiful thing, man. You know, doing the research and understanding the connections and you know, being in a position when it comes to the cemetery maintenance and restoration, you know, to be able to be in a physical space to be able to give back. I had another elder, family member, never knew we were related, Miss Bessie Pounds. She told me last year or year before, I was talking to her and I asked her if it was a message that she had for young people, for us, you know, what would she say? What would she like to tell us based off of how they grew up and where things are today? And what she said to me was, she said, baby, we didn't have a voice back then, but y'all do. And man, that's profound when I really think about, you know, how they had to live. You know, we talk about systems that are in place, and there was a system in place, but that system was maintained by other people that they saw, that they lived around and worked for, or whatever the case may be. So for her to say, you know, we have a voice today, you know, I'm just honored to be able to come out and do what I do, you know, not just for those laid to rest, but you know, if we can bring people together, I think that's a beautiful thing, because the elders did a much better job of staying connected and in contact with each other than we do. I think that's just my opinion. They did a much better job. You know, a lot of them had moved away, but they would come back for camp meeting. They wrote letters. They did all kind of stuff. And you know, with all the technology that we have today, I don't know. I just feel like we should do a better job. But all of these things that that I'm speaking about, they apply to me as well. So I'm taking these lessons as I learn them and applying them to my own life. So, I don't want to come off like I'm preaching or we got a habit of always saying people talking down to us, but sometimes that's not the case, because I'm talking to myself as well, and I'm just now realizing these things I'm doing now. I didn't pay attention to cemeteries growing up. I used to be out here, it wasn't a thing for me, but when the Most High asks you to do something and put it on your heart to do something, I think we need to, for me, I'm just learning to be disciplined and move the way that I'm instructed to move without hesitation. Because we have a limited amount of time here, and we just have to do our best while we're here. So I'm walking back through the old section of Friendship in Raytown, and I'm out here early, so I didn't go get my right hand up here, Mr. Joe Stevens. I didn't go grab him yet, because he might still be sleeping, but walking back through the old section, and I have to say, when we came out a few months ago, I looked at the state of this cemetery, and oh man, it was overwhelming. And from right here, you would never know there was a cemetery. If you didn't know, you wouldn't know. Even as we turn this corner right here, you still wouldn't know until you start to get down a little further. So, yeah, man, it's we lost sight of this. It had some years ago. We lost sight of it, and nature has kind of done its thing. Nature's kind of done its thing, but I'm still stuck on this video I saw the other week. When Eric Thomas was talking about root work, I'm still stuck on that, because we was talking about root work in our lives, how we do the leaf and branch work, but we never really get down into the roots and get those issues dealt with. So just like the cemetery in Warrenton, we cut the trees, but if we don't get out here and take the roots down, it's gonna grow back. But I look out here, and I'm gonna walk back down through here so you all can see what we're working with. Yeah, I'm keeping time. We had 13 minutes, but hey, we spend more time watching reality TV shows and other nonsense. So hang in there with me. I'm gonna wrap it. What the pastor said. I ain't gonna hold you long. But I really just want you guys to see what we're trying to do and what we're working with, and the importance of, in my opinion, of us getting out here and helping to restore this to a decent place. But so you see, we're in the cemetery. A few years back, we came out. We found, and it was right here. We just so happened to run up on it. My grandmother's grandfather, Pa John Porter, and right here we have Ma Ezel. And this lady here, man, I knew of her name, but I didn't know her story, man. And I still only know part of it. I never met her. She died in, I think 73, 74, something like that. So I never met her, but when I talk to people about how strong this woman was, it's amazing. And I gotta say, in our family, people know how strong she was. She went to church, and she just had a faith that was so deep. it allowed her to love in situations where you could look at that situation and see how and be okay with someone not loving, but that's not who she was, man. So yeah, that's amazing. But so not just her. I just have a feeling that a lot of these people laid to rest out here share similar stories like that. They touch somebody in a way, you know, that made them feel special, and they pass that on, or whatever the case may be. But I know it's a lot of history. It's a lot of love out here, and I'm sure it's some pain as well. I'm sure it is. That's just part of human nature. Everything's not a feel-good story, but I know it's a lot of love out here, and I know it's a lot of people that endured so that we could walk in the space that we're walking in now. I just know that to be true, and that's part of why we committed to putting in this work to make a difference. But you know, we look at this and it's like, wow, oh, this is too far gone. There's nothing that can be done. But I tell you, if we cut these small trees down and we are willing to give up some time and do some root work, we can undo this. We can make this right. I know we can. If the people laid to rest here can live through a system and live around people that treated them the way that they were treated, if they could survive and still go to church, still praise the Most High, still love on their children to the best of their abilities, still take in their cousins and nieces and nephews when other family members died and did the best they can to raise them with what they had, we can get out here and cut a few trees down and rake some leaves. That's how I feel about it. I do. That's how I feel about it. If they can live through what they lived through so that we can exist and be in this moment, there's no reason we can't get out here and do a little work to honor our ancestors. And these stones tell a story. These stones tell a story. A lot of them are unmarked. So I'm assuming the families didn't have money to get a stone or the resources to get a stone. Some of them are like this, where the family just did what they could. They got a stone and they just wrote the name and birth date on there. And then some of them are like this. This is one of the nicest stones I've ever seen. And with permission of the family, I want to clean this area off and clean that stone. And I connected with her granddaughter a few months back, but we have to reconnect. But a tree has grown up right down into where she was laid to rest. So this area has been unattended for a long time, the old section back here. But that's why we're here. We're bringing attention and awareness. And what we need is some volunteers and just a little time. A little time. It's not going to happen overnight because it didn't get like this overnight. And that's something in life too. You know, when we're working through whatever issues we have, whatever demons, things we're plagued by, we just have to identify those issues and start working at it. Start working at it. It takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. But you know, when you surround yourself with good people that'll tell you the truth, that'll chew you out when you're wrong, that's how we grow. You know, we don't need yes men and women when we're trying to grow and do root work. We got to have people that are truly our friends, that love us, that's willing to tell us the truth. And I'm just walking back through here just to show you how far back down in here this goes. But yeah, this is amazing. Oh, and another thing, that was a female pastor back in the day. Miss Grandma said that was the first female pastor she had ever seen that used to come up to camp meeting and used to preach at New Hope, Miss Millie Howard. That's what she said her name was, Miss Millie Howard. I don't know who that is, but you know, if anybody has any information on Miss Millie Howard, I just think that's another interesting part of the story. Back then, a female pastor, and Grandma emphasized that was the first woman pastor she had ever seen. So I think this might be, well, no, because I see some indentations in the ground here, so we're still coming back. Oh, all back through here. Yeah, I don't see any more headstones that are visible, but I do see areas that are sunken in. I'm gonna go back a little further. Yeah, another area here. But anybody, we're gonna be in Warrenton on the 21st. Kind of doing the last phase of that cemetery. Hopefully we can get as many volunteers out as possible to help out. And as soon as we're done there, I'm talking within the month, we're gonna shift our efforts up here. So if you have family laid to rest out here, you have some young people that need volunteer hours, come on out. I spoke to, this was November 21. I was getting ready to go down to, Kuwait for work. And I reached out to Mr. George Hughes because I stopped by, I used to stop by and see him every time I came up this way. Grandma said we were related. She couldn't tell us how. I still haven't figured it out. But I think one of his relatives did Ancestry DNA, and we connected on there, but we haven't, found out exactly the connection. But Grandma always knew that we were related to Mr. George Hughes and family. So before I went to Kuwait, I reached out to Mr. George and I asked his blessing on being able to come out and do our part in cleaning up the cemetery. And I still had a phone record of that call. We talked for 21 or 22 minutes. I got to go back and look at my phone records, but we just had a general conversation. He told me he definitely would bless off on it and said that he would come out and help. Let him know when we were out here, and he would be out here to help. And I told Mr. George, nope, you're not gonna help do anything. You can watch, but us young folk, it's our time to put in some work. You guys have done enough. And I'm gonna keep my word as far as coming out here and trying to do the work to help clean this cemetery up. And so I'll keep my word that I promised I made to Mr. George. And he used to make that stew. So I think everybody that know him know about that stew he used to make. He gave us some. We were headed back to, I think we were living in Missouri at the time, and we stopped by on our way out, and he gave us a thing of stew. But yeah, I'm just honored to be out here. Wow. 24 minutes with no commercials. I may have to, some of my video people, I may have to get you guys to break this video up into sections for me. So, Mr. Donald Booker Jr., yep, you got ancestors out here. We share ancestors out here. So, I know you do the video thing, so I'm calling on you to to maybe help me with these videos, because it's obvious I have no idea what I'm doing. So this name here, that's a nice stone too. Miss Mabel Revere. I didn't grow up in Crawfordville, I grew up in Warrenton. But Pa John's other sister, Ophelia, she married a man named Green Revere. And so I'm not sure if they're related, but I have to start digging to see what I can find. But yeah, man, this is what I do in my free time. It's not all about the oh, you love them dead folk. But you know, it's fascinating what I find in the cemetery, and the names that I come across has definitely connected me with a lot of those that are still above ground. And I've been able to get a lot of information and make a lot of connections that I had no idea about before. So, all right, so that's enough of me rambling. I'm gonna clean off Pa John and Mont Ezel area to the best of my ability. I was out here a few weeks ago and cut these couple trees down, little small trees. So hopefully someone has a chipper that we can bring out here, or we're gonna have to try to raise some funds to, pay someone. But hopefully someone has a chipper and we can get a chipper out here, and when we cut these little trees down, we can just chip them up and spread it. But this is what we're up against. And I know it looks daunting. It looks like it'll never happen, but it'll never happen if we don't commit and put in the work. But based off the strength of those that are laid to rest here, based off the fact that we're still here with all kinds of opportunities that some of these people may not even have dreamt of. We're the walking embodiment of everything they wanted and dreamed of. And I feel we have to walk proudly with that thing. And for me, I think the root work and the discipline piece starts right here. So Taliaferro County, or Taliaferro, however you guys pronounce it, get ready. We coming out to friendship. All right, peace and love. Legacy Project.